you all for being here this evening. I know it's not easy after finishing a full day's worth of work to come in after work to learn about dentistry. I was telling my hairdresser this morning, I'm going to a study club. And it's like, study club? What's a study club? That's something you do at school and at university level. But I think it speaks volumes when we see that the whole room is full this evening and how dedicated we are to our profession. It really does speak hugely to the fact that we are really passionate about our jobs. We're not doing it just for the money. We're doing it because we want to provide better treatment outcomes for our patients. I'm going to try to keep my lecture components a little bit shorter this evening. I don't want to bore you with listening to all of my cases and so on. I want to actually get each one of you to have a go at seeing this end-to-end workflow for 3D printing. So I think 3D printing, if I had a magic crystal ball, I would say it's going to be in every single practice in about 3 to 5 years. The early adopters are the ones that are going to be doing it really well. So before I really delve into the presentation, I'd love to get a bit of an understanding as to how much digital technology or uptake we have in the room. So if I could please ask you, if you have a scanner, any type of scanner in your practice, can you please stand up? Stand up so we know. So that's pretty much 100% of the room. Everyone has got access to a scanner. I think 5 years ago it was a different story. You can write it down. 5 years ago it was a different story. Not everyone had access to scanners. But nowadays everyone does have it. So the point of difference is no longer about do you have a scanner or not. The point of difference is how are you leveraging this technology nowadays? How are you using it in your practices? I'll ask another question again. How many of you have got access to or have used in the past any same-day workflows, chairside workflows? Sarah is probably the one that we know most of. Can you please stand up if you do have access to the Sarah machine? Fantastic. So almost at that 50%. Fantastic. You can grab a seat again. So the point I'm trying to demonstrate is the technology is already here. 3D printing is coming in at a much lower price point than Sarah's. It is something that is going to change dentistry. We've already started seeing it with our patients and our cases. I do hope that everyone has a chance to run through the different stations that we've set up around the room to make sure that you understand all of those steps in the workflow and how to actually make it work in your practices from hopefully as soon as tomorrow. So for those of you, although there are lots of familiar faces, there are some new ones, so I'll introduce myself again. I have been a dentist for 2 decades now, so you all know my age. And like Tyler mentioned earlier, I own the Turnout Dental Studio and Dentistry in Canterbury, and we have had an internal laboratory that services both practices. But this year we've decided to extend it and open it up to external practices, so that's the Envision design lab. I am also an internal student, constantly learning and trying to push myself out of my comfort zone because I feel like it's important for patient outcomes. I think once I start to stagnate and stop learning, is probably when I'll put down the tools and retire. But the reason for it is I think we owe patients to provide them with the best dentistry we can do today. It's not fair for me to be providing them with the best dentistry that we were doing back in 2020. 2019, before COVID. Nobody was doing dentistry. That's what we owe our patients. We have that obligation, and I feel like I have that obligation to them. My real passion, though, with technology started when we incorporated Sarah into our practices. That's when I felt like the control over the predictability, the efficiency, was bringing in new patients into the practice. It just completely transformed our practices. And that's what I hope to relate to you about 3D printing, is that's doing even more for us than what Sarah was able to do. My biggest inspiration when it came to 3D printing, like Tanya mentioned, is in the United States. I don't know if anyone's heard of the Ladt Institute. Have heard of them? My team. And somebody, Mila's heard of them as well. They are fantastic. They are revolutionizing what 3D printing can do. I was saying earlier to Brendan that we had my dental technician team watching some of the content that they have online on their teaching platform and learning how to do records for dentures, bridges, upper and lower for dentures, taking records in one day and having a full upper and lower retentive denture made on the same day. Mind-blowing compared to the traditional way we're used to do dentures. 5 repeat visits and the patients coming in over and over again. There's no, I hate to say, there's no money even left after all of those appointments. It doesn't make sense, but 3D printing has changed that. And these guys are really like groundbreaking with what they're doing because they also have a research laboratory. So they are actually researching all of the resins that are being developed. And the interesting thing is, nowadays the resins are developing so quickly that by the time the data is being published, it's already outdated. It's already 2 generations too old. So that's how exciting the world of 3D printing is. So I'm going to share a short video with you about what we're going to talk about today, about Design Suite.
The iTero Design Suite is a cloud-based AI-driven software that's described as a simpler version of exocad's chairside CAD software. It's integrated directly into the iTero Lumina scanner, and it enables us to be able to design 3D printed models, crowns, appliances, mock-ups in a much faster, more cost-effective digital workflow with direct connections to several 3D printers.
I love Smart Architect. Again, can I get a hand up if you're not an Invisalign provider, you're not familiar with Invisalign, Smart Architect? So Smart Architect is essentially a platform where we can use it to plan and design smiles and then work the orthodontic plan backwards from that. So it really means that we're generating all of our treatment plans using patiently generated principles and using the face and the smile to actually get those orthodontic plans done. So that was why I really wanted to go down this path of 3D printing. So I love the fact that we were doing all of our orthodontic work now using the face and the smile. And this is kind of like the finishing touch at the end of a restorative, at the end of an orthodontic plan. Getting the restorative and finishing it off is really what makes it look absolutely perfect. But I also loved that it meant that we could do these more cosmetic cases without harming any enamel. So I knew that 9 times out of 10, when I did a rehab case or some kind of a small cosmetic improvement, I needed to do some alignment first. I needed to intrude teeth, or I needed to create some space or let the gingiva, instead of doing crown lengthening or preparing more aggressively into the teeth, why not prepare for the plastic? Why not use the aligners to actually do all of those preparations? I found that, 9 times out of 10, I was resorting to using the aligners as opposed to using the trim. And that's what I wanted in my own mouth, because I didn't want to harm any of my enamel, and when I mean literally, that's my mouth up there. So I did Smart Architect first, and then I got 10 3D printed resin veneers. No enamel was harmed, and I just wanted to see what would it do to my smile, my confidence, and they feel amazing. Best decision, should have done it earlier. So I know what you're thinking. Sometimes we think, I don't know that all my patients are that cosmetically focused. I don't think that I have all of these cosmetically focused patients in my practice. Or my practice is not cosmetically focused. Mine wasn't either. It didn't start off that way. Particularly because I found it really an awkward, invasive question to ask patients. How do you feel about your smile? Do you like your smile? I could already visualize that I was going to improve their smile. But I felt it was really hard to broach that topic. It was hard to also show them the vision that I had in my mind for their smile. But the Lumina scanner, the iTero scanner, has completely eliminated all of that awkwardness of that conversation. Because now we take a scan of the patient's teeth, we show them, we take them on a tour of their mouth so they see what's happening in their mouth, and then we add onto it one small photo or a small video, and we've got all of that conversation happening naturally with just their own photos and their records. And it helps patients to really visualize what the potential of their smile could be. It helps them to also understand that when we improve the alignment and when the function is working well, things start to look better at the same time. So it helps them to make that connection between form and function. And I'm lucky enough that in our practices, we've been exposed to a few different scanners. We do have the CEREC, like I mentioned, we have the Trios, and we have the iTero. But to be honest, the iTero is the one that I reach out to the most, and I'm not saying that because they're paying me to say that. You can ask my team, they'll vouch for it. It's not because it's the fastest scanner, it's not the fastest scanner. If you're looking at speed, it's not the iTero, unfortunately. It's still being the Trios is fastest. But it's all the extra tools that come with it that make it our scanner of choice. And when I say we scan everyone, I mean we scan everyone. Every child exam gets a scan, because 100% of kids nowadays have a constitution of some sort. Every new patient gets a scan. So we don't want new patients to come in and then expose them to all these pictures of mirror and try to take some photos. They're already anxious. They're already feeling vulnerable. Best thing to do is just to take a scan, sit them up, have a conversation with them, and explain to them what's happening in their mouth. Same with our regular patients. We scan every patient and every recall appointment because we're not looking for trends and problems just now. We're looking for what is actually changing. So being able to scan and then superimpose both scans and look for the changes or the differences between both scans means that we're going to pick up problems earlier. We're going to prevent that 60-year-old that comes in with acid erosion under every surface and say, oh, we need a full rehab. If we picked that up earlier, we could have prevented it before it got to the stage of a rehab. Same with emergency. Emergency broken tooth. Yes, you're going to fix the tooth. But let's find out why did it break. Why can't we talk about these conversations and have these conversations before it becomes more problematic for the patient? So every patient in our practice gets scanned. And the beauty of the iTero, and the reason that we reach out to it more often than not, is it's so easy within a few minutes to take these photos and show patients what their smile could look like. Again, just so we all have a bit of an idea, can I have you raise up your hands if you are doing this routinely? Taking scans and photos? Taking scans? So we all have the technology, we're just not using it to its full potential. It's very expensive technology, so let's try to use it on a more regular basis. We noticed in our practices when we used to have Invisalign open days, our conversion rates doubled since we started using the photos and incorporating them. So it's not as simple as just showing patients what their teeth look like and how they look straight, but incorporating their facial features and incorporating them having a conversation and showing them what other people see makes the biggest difference in terms of conversion. So that's how you start to unlock a lot of these cosmetic cases within your own patients. You don't have to market to get new patients, they're already there in your practices. So how did we start, or where did we start our journey with 3D printing? We actually started it before all of these tools became available with the iTero. We wanted to help patients visualize what their end result would look like before we start any treatment. So we printed out some of these 3D printed shells. And I think you've got some examples on your tables. They're essentially a number of veneers that are stuck together, 3D printed, and we just simply place them onto patients' teeth, took photos with, took photos after. Photos before and after. And got them to be able to compare what they look like with and without them. Much easier than to have that conversation about their outcomes when they can visualize it themselves. So for example, this lady had already finished her alignment, but wasn't happy with the way her smile looked. Teeth were straight, there was no cants, but something didn't quite look finished. Once we put in the restorative, she really understood that the restorative is really the finishing touch. It's what really completes the smile. And same with this young gentleman. So he came to us wanting Invisalign, thinking, I just don't like the gaps in my teeth. I just want to close everything. But I tried to explain to him, well, closing the gaps is not going to improve the proportions of the teeth. You have microdontia. Didn't mean anything to him until we started putting in these shells, and then he understood, okay, so it means that some of the teeth need to be increased in width or length to give me a better, more harmonious result. And we needed to know that before we started his Invisalign treatment, because we need to see where exactly are the spaces that we're going to keep. So it wasn't something that we could do after he completed his alignment. It was a decision we had to make before we started it. And same with this gentleman. We wanted him to understand why upper lip support was going to be really important. He was somebody who needed orthodontic surgery, class 3 as you can tell, but absolutely refused. Didn't want to have any extractions, didn't want to have any surgical options. And so we used, again, the small trial shell, as you can see at the top, to help him understand that we actually need not only to move the teeth, but to also lengthen them and widen them to help give him that illusion of upper lip support. And so we finished his alignment in a few months and managed to get away with only doing 4 resin veneers for him. Again, no enamel was harmed in the process. So it really has opened up a lot of options and opportunities, whether it's camouflage treatment or whether it's somebody who's young who's just looking for a cosmetic improvement without harming their enamel. It really has opened up a lot more treatment opportunity in our practices. And the printer, it's my favorite printer at the moment, is actually the Midas printer. Is anyone familiar with the Midas? Has anyone got a Midas? This is the Midas printer just here. We're going to do a live print in front of you so you all get a chance to see it. Small footprint, very fast, but the beauty really is all about the technology of the resin itself. So traditional 3D printing, is anyone familiar with traditional 3D printing? Kind of. Is essentially a liquid resin, and a little vat, and you have a build platform that goes up and down into that resin. So it's a liquid, it has to be a liquid resin. The limitation with that is we can't make the resin too thick, otherwise the print fails. Whereas the technology now with the Midas is it's a press technology. So the resin actually gets pushed up, and you can make the resin a lot thicker. The reason we make it thicker is that we have a much higher ceramic content filler in this type of resin. So nowadays, the resins are 60% ceramic filler, so much stronger than what we had in the past. I understand in the US at the moment, TGA approved, FDA approved, 70% ceramic filler. So every year seems to be increasing. So in a short few years, we will have some serious competition to milling machines. Emax and zirconia, watch out. And now they've actually developed a multi-unit capsule as well. So that means I can see a patient for an appointment at 9 o'clock. I will scan them, I'll have a conversation with them. Within 8 minutes, I could print out their small trial shell and get them to accept the treatment plan all in one appointment. But also, if I want to do a full mouth rehabilitation, well, I could essentially print all of those units onto those multi-unit capsules. It's amazing. It's amazing what it's going to do for dentistry. And here's a short video just to explain to you a little bit more about that technology.
From the earliest wooden prosthetics of the 1700s to the amalgam fillings of the Industrial Revolution, to the cast crowns of the early 20th century and the synthetic composites available today, dentistry has evolved alongside materials, but one material stands above all the rest. Ceramic is desirable for its natural beauty, strength, and longevity, but this material is thick and viscous. It has only been milled, cast, or layered. Until now. This is Midas, a new kind of 3D printer by SprintRay, the first ever to use digital press stereolithography, a new way to think about ceramic composite restorations. And it's the most revolutionary product we've ever built. Simply scan a cartridge and place it on the print glass. This patent-pending device allows Midas to digitally press and shape viscous composites, seamlessly blending the precision of 3D printing with the unparalleled advantages of ceramic composite. A few minutes later, the restoration is ready. Remove the appliance from the build platform, then post-process, and it's ready to deliver. Midas doesn't just represent the pinnacle of current biomaterial technology, it paves the way for future innovations in dentistry. Say hello to the future of dentistry. Say hello to Midas.
I want to share with you again another video about how we use Design Suite to actually facilitate or to use this 3D printer.
So here's a case that we did with the iTero Lumina scanner. We scanned the preparations and we designed them using Design Suite software. We are selecting the restorations that are necessary, as well as selecting the material, the color, putting it into the prescription sheet. Once that's complete, we then start to marginate the restorations. And that means telling the software where exactly the restoration needs to start and end. Once that's been completed, then we start to actually design the restorations. We use a virtual articulator to help us determine the guidance and the cuspal angles that are required for the restorations, lightening the contact so we don't have a heavy interference. Once that's complete, we go ahead into the SprintRay software to do the nesting for the capsules. Once that has been correctly stacked and they have been nested, we can then start loading up the capsules. Now these capsules do need some priming before they're placed within the printer. Once they have been primed and placed, this little plunger will actually push down the highly viscous ceramic resin into the final restoration. Once the restoration has been complete, we'll do a little bit of post-processing to ensure that the restorations are ready to be cured and finalized.
You're really leaving a lot of treatment on the table. And Brendan is the guru when it comes to Design Suite, so we'll have a station set up where we can get you all to have a go at actually marginating and designing the restorations. It's not too dissimilar to the CEREX. If you're already familiar with it, it'll be quite an easy transition. But it essentially allows for a whole range of different treatments. Replacing amalgams with freehand composite was something I felt was I didn't want to do, only because I felt like freehand composite was much softer or weaker material than the amalgam. I'm going to go ahead and remove an amalgam and then just put a composite in there. But now putting the ceramic resin in there means it's a much stronger restoration. It's more aesthetic. The contacts are on point. Occlusion is going to be on point because it's all done previously. I'm not sitting there and layering all of the layers of composite and then putting some staining and then checking the bite and having to grind it all back. 3D printed veneers, like I mentioned earlier, bridges, so I will talk to you about the clinical applications at the next slide. But before we do that, let's actually start a live print. So I'm going to ask my fabulous dental technician, Daniela, who's got stronger fingers than me, to prime the capsule. We have already sent the job from the computer. It is nested, so we will be priming the capsules, getting them ready. You scan the capsule. You can only use the capsules once. And we've already primed it. Peel the little red thing and place it at the top of the printer. There we go, 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, that should be done, and then we'll take it across to the 3D printing station where we'll show you all of the post-processing. So clinical applications. One of my favorite things to do is 3D printed bridges, resin bridges. So this case here, we had a lady that had a deep bite, an impacted upper canine. We used Invisalign and Smile Architect. In a short few months, we managed to open up the space and improve the deep bite. And then within the hour, we had printed for her a bridge in that area. Now, side note, when it comes to resin, 2 wings, not a single wing. So it behaves slightly differently to traditional ceramic. 2 wings means it gives it more rigidity and it stops any flexure within the restoration. But no enamel was harmed once again, and we were able to have that ready for her within an hour, and then scan and get her retainers. It's amazing for prepless veneers for young patients. I'm not that young, but best decision I've made. It's great for post-orthodontic treatment plans, particularly for young patients where there's a Bolton discrepancy, where there's microdontia or peg laterals. Absolutely perfect for this application. Onlays, like I mentioned earlier, so for teeth that have got very heavily filled teeth but are not quite ready for a crown yet, let's all be more conservative. Let's preserve more of that enamel. Partial coverage onlays is perfect for this material. And bonding your restorations, like I mentioned earlier, ideal contacts, ideal contours, you don't have to worry about matrices and wedges and all of that jazz. The only thing you do have to worry about is rubber dam. They absolutely must be cemented under rubber dam. Generally, most bonding should be done under rubber dam, but this is crucial for 3D printing. Really, really important to do it under rubber dam. And one of the favorite things that we use it for is printed temps. So when we have a full mouth rehab or we have a case where we're doing a cosmetic case, we get the patient in the morning, we prepare, we scan, get them to have a bit of a lunch or a coffee while we're printing their temps. We glue in their temps. On the day of delivering those finals, you will have the best gingival health ever. You will never regret doing this. And the patient loves them. And again, like I mentioned earlier, younger patients just wanting to improve their smile. The restorations can be as little as 100 microns thin. So translucency is amazing, and they definitely don't give too much of a bulky look. Whereas sometimes having prepless ceramic veneers can give that little bit of a bulky look. So it's a fantastic option, like I mentioned earlier, after Smile Architect. And it really does finish up that restorative plan perfectly. So I know I've spoken already about the live stations that we're going to have around the room. Has anyone got any questions?
How do you deal with the psychology of same-day workflows? Like, do you have insights?
Can I just say it's a practice builder? It really is. Like, I'm sure all those practices that do have CEREC say, you know, when I do a crown on the same day, my friend's not getting a crown, it's 2-week turnaround and they're in temporaries. It actually is a practice builder. But in terms of how did we start it, same with the CEREC. I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but when we introduced CEREC into our practices, the patient was prepped at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the insert was at 5 o'clock at the end of the day to make sure we could troubleshoot all of the issues that we had with the CEREC. I would suggest the same with implementing 3D printing. Get them first thing in the morning, spend all day if you can, with no patients if you want to, if you don't have support staff that can support you, and use that time to design, take your time, print a model, check the restorations on the model, and then bring them back in. But it's the same with anything. Everything that you do that's new, the first time isn't going to be perfect, the second time is not going to be perfect, but it'll be better, and it keeps going. So yes, there is a challenge in implementing something different. The more times you do it, the easier it will become.
And like follow up from that, like, do you enjoy that reconnect in the afternoon, like with your patients?
The patients love it. So again, for a lot of our full mouth makeovers, we get patients to get pampered in practice. We give them a meal and we get them something to drink, and then we ask a masseuse to come in and give them a facial or a pedicure or something.
Yeah, well.
And it's great to have, yes, you can come in. And it's great to make a whole day out of it. So they know that there's some day. They're spending a fortune at the practice. Why not reward them as well? And it gives us the luxury of saying, we're blocking out the whole day. It's just one patient. That's all we're focusing on. And it takes away the stress.
Oh, sorry, you just said.
Oh, have I?
So I was just going to ask how it all works into your appointment with the others.
When we first started off, like I said, with the CEREC, we had a 4-hour gap in between prep and insert. Now we have it as little as 45 minutes. It's the same with 3D printing. We started off with a much larger gap, and as we're getting better and better, the gap's getting shorter and shorter. I know there are practices that do, CEREC appointments in 1-2-hour block. We prefer in our practice to send the patient home and see another patient or give them a bit of a break before we continue on. You can see what works in your practice.
Sorry. So how, like the first appointment, how long would that be?
If it's a CEREC, for example, it'll be a 50 to 60 minute. If I'm prepping for, say, quadrant or onlays, I'll allow 50 minutes so I can take photos and document the whole case, but it really doesn't take very long to drill. And then we scan. It takes my technician team about an hour to print the model, print the restorations, glaze them, fit them, and then have them ready. So we send the patient away for an hour. We don't pamper them when it's just posterior fillings. Maybe we should. And then we bring them back in to insert. The insert appointment doesn't take very long. It's rubber down for a couple of minutes, and then they kind of just drop into place. They're so well fitting that, yeah, we don't have to do any adjusting.
Thank you. What are you using as your cement for these types of restorations?
Anything that you would cement, traditional ceramic, you could even use warmed composite. So, composite bonds to composite.
So it's not like a traditional ceramic where you have to etch or silanate or...
Good question. Are you guys etching in the lab?
No.
No ceramic etch.
I got clean and primer and water, but the on is not good.
So no need for ceramic etch onto the restoration, but we are using iTero clean after we try it in, and then we bond. Sorry, it's just we have a laboratory, so they do all of that side, but different to ceramic, traditional ceramic, where you have to porcelain etch the interior. You don't have to do that with these restorations. I found it's probably less post-operative sensitivity than the normal composite fillings that you sometimes do. We do IDS first, so I'll prep and I'll do IDS, send the patient away, bring them back in, and then bond it. And it's finished. Here we go, perfect timing. And we just air dry all of that liquid resin off. We clean up with a micro brush, and we snip them off the supports that's on the capsule, and we put them into nano cure to cure, and then we do a little bit of glazing and finishing of the layers. So hopefully everyone